There's a profound shift that occurs when you understand what truly makes a woman crave you on a deep, almost primal level. Not surface attraction, not fleeting interest, but that raw, magnetic pull that makes her think about you when you're not around, dream about you at night, and feel an almost physical need for your presence. Most men spend their entire lives trying to figure this out, throwing money at dates, flexing muscles at the gym, or memorizing pickup lines they read online. But the truth is, only 3% of men truly understand what creates that intense craving in a woman's heart and mind. And today, I'm going to reveal those 5 secrets to you. These aren't tricks or manipulations. These are fundamental truths about human psychology and feminine desire that most men will never discover. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why some men have women constantly thinking about them, while others fade into the background like elevator music. You'll learn why certain men create an almost addictive effect in women, making them crave their attention, their touch, their very presence, while other men, despite being good guys, despite being kind and generous and available, somehow become invisible, taken for granted, or worse, friend-zoned into oblivion. The first thing that makes a woman crave you intensely is something I call emotional unavailability with depth. Now, before you misunderstand this, I'm not talking about being cold, distant, or emotionally immature. I'm talking about being a man who has emotional layers that can't be fully accessed immediately, who has depth that takes time to discover, who has parts of his inner world that feel sacred and exclusive. You see, most men make the mistake of becoming an open book from day one. They share their deepest fears, their childhood traumas, their financial struggles, their insecurities, all within the first few conversations. They think that vulnerability equals connection, and while vulnerability is important, timing is everything. When you give a woman complete emotional access to you before she's earned it, before she's invested in you, before she's proven herself worthy of your inner world, you rob her of the pleasure of discovery. You eliminate the mystery that makes her want to dig deeper, to understand you more, to unlock the parts of you that others can't see. A high-value man, a man who creates intense craving in women, he reveals himself in layers. He's not playing games or being manipulative. He's simply protecting his emotional energy and sharing it strategically with people who have proven they deserve access to his inner world. He understands that his thoughts, his feelings, his dreams, his fears, these are precious gifts that shouldn't be handed out like free samples at the grocery store. When you operate this way, something magical happens in a woman's mind. She starts to see you as a puzzle she wants to solve, a book she wants to read, a mystery she needs to unravel. She finds herself thinking about what you're thinking, wondering what experiences shaped you into the man you are today, craving those moments when you do open up because they feel rare and valuable. This isn't about being fake or putting up walls. It's about understanding that the most attractive thing to a woman is a man who has depths she hasn't explored yet, stories she hasn't heard, parts of his soul that feel exclusive to those who earn the right to see them. The second thing that creates intense craving is controlled attention. Most men, when they're interested in a woman, they shower her with constant attention. They're always available for her calls, they respond to her texts within minutes, they're always ready to drop everything when she needs something. They think this shows how much they care, how available they are, how much they value her. But here's what actually happens in a woman's psychology when you're always available, when your attention is always free and flowing. She starts to take it for granted. Not because she's a bad person, not because she's ungrateful, but because human beings, all human beings, value things that are scarce more than things that are abundant. When your attention is always available, it loses its power to create excitement, anticipation, or craving. But when you learn to control your attention, when you give it strategically and purposefully, when she has to earn it rather than just expect it, something incredible happens in her nervous system. She starts to crave those moments when you do focus on her completely. She starts to anticipate your texts, your calls, your presence. She starts to feel a rush of excitement when she sees your name on her phone because your attention has become valuable, scarce, something to be treasured rather than taken for granted. This doesn't mean being rude or ignoring her. It means being selective about when and how you give your attention. It means having a life so full and purposeful that your attention is naturally limited. It means understanding that the quality of your attention matters more than the quantity. When you do give her your attention, she should feel like the only woman in the world. But when you're not available, she should understand that you have important things going on in your life that require your focus and energy. The third element that creates intense craving is unpredictable consistency. This might sound like a contradiction, but hear me out. Most men are either completely predictable, boring, routine, always doing the same things in the same way, or they're completely unpredictable in a chaotic, unreliable way that creates anxiety rather than excitement. But the men who create intense craving in women understand how to be unpredictably consistent. They're consistent in their character, their values, their integrity, their core personality. She knows she can count on them to be the same good man whether they're alone together or in a room full of people. She knows they'll treat her with respect, she knows they'll be honest with her, she knows they'll show up when they say they will. This consistency creates trust and security, which are absolutely essential for deep attraction. But within that framework of consistency, they're unpredictable in their approach to life, their spontaneity, their ability to surprise her and keep her guessing. Maybe one day they plan an elaborate romantic evening, and the next week they show up at her door with concert tickets to her favorite band. Maybe they're usually calm and measured, but sometimes they show a flash of passionate intensity that reminds her there are layers to this man she's still discovering. Maybe they're typically gentle and thoughtful, but occasionally they display a confidence and assertiveness that makes her heart race. This combination of reliability and surprise, of safety and excitement, creates a psychological state in women that's incredibly addictive. She feels safe with you, but never bored. She can count on you, but she can't completely predict you. She knows who you are at your core, but she's constantly discovering new facets of your personality that make her fall deeper and deeper into fascination with you. The fourth thing that makes women crave you intensely is personal magnetism that comes from self-mastery. This isn't about having perfect abs or driving an expensive car or wearing designer clothes. This is about something much deeper and more powerful. This is about becoming a man who has mastery over himself, his emotions, his reactions, his impulses, his energy. When you walk into a room, people should feel your presence before they see you. Not because you're loud or attention-seeking, but because you carry yourself with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing exactly who you are and being completely comfortable in your own skin. Self-mastery shows up in how you handle conflict without losing your cool, how you respond to stress without falling apart, how you deal with disappointment without becoming bitter, how you face challenges without complaining or making excuses. Women are incredibly attracted to men who seem unshakable, not because they never face difficulties, but because they've developed the inner strength to handle whatever life throws at them with grace and composure. This kind of man doesn't need external validation because he's done the internal work to validate himself. He doesn't need others to make him feel worthy because he knows his worth comes from within. He doesn't need drama or chaos to feel alive because he's created a rich inner world that provides him with consistent peace and fulfillment. When a woman encounters a man like this, something primal awakens in her. She recognizes, on a subconscious level, that this is the kind of man who could protect her, provide for her, lead her through any storm that life might bring. Not because he promises to take care of her problems, but because she can see that he's taken care of his own. Not because he tries to impress her with his strength, but because his strength is so integrated into who he is that it's impossible to miss. This creates a deep, almost cellular level craving in women because they're biologically and psychologically wired to be attracted to men who represent security, stability, and strength. But not the fake kind of strength that comes from posturing or pretending, the real kind that comes from years of working on yourself, facing your demons, and emerging as a man who has conquered his own inner world. The fifth and perhaps most powerful thing that creates intense craving in women is purposeful living that goes beyond them. This is where most men get it completely wrong. They think the way to make a woman crave them is to make that woman the center of their universe, to revolve their entire life around her needs, her schedule, her desires, her approval. But this creates the exact opposite effect. When you make a woman your whole world, she doesn't feel special, she feels suffocated. When you have no purpose beyond making her happy, she doesn't feel valued, she feels responsible for your entire emotional well-being, which is an enormous and unattractive burden. But when you have a mission, a purpose, a calling that's bigger than any one relationship, when you're building something meaningful with your life, when you're contributing to the world in a way that fulfills you deeply, women feel that energy and they want to be part of it. They want to support it, they want to contribute to it, they want to stand beside a man who's going somewhere important and invite them along for the journey. A man with purpose is magnetic because he's not needy, he's not desperate, he's not looking for a woman to complete him because he's already complete within himself. He's looking for a woman to complement the amazing life he's already building. When you live this way, when you have something you're passionate about that goes beyond romantic relationships, women start to see being with you not as the destination, but as an adventure. They start to understand that if they want to be part of your life, they need to add value to it, they need to support your mission, they need to be someone worthy of the incredible journey you're on. This creates a healthy dynamic where she's chasing your vision rather than you chasing her validation. She's trying to prove that she deserves a place in your purposeful life rather than you trying to prove that you deserve her attention. Now, let me tell you why only 3% of men understand these principles. It's because our culture has taught men to do the exact opposite of everything I just shared with you. We've been told that to get love, we need to give everything away for free. We've been told that to show we care, we need to be available 24/7. We've been told that to prove our worth, we need to chase, pursue, convince, and perform. We've been told that being a good man means sacrificing ourselves completely for the happiness of others, especially women. But here's the truth that no one wants to tell you. When you operate from this mindset, when you make yourself completely available, completely predictable, completely transparent, completely self-sacrificing, you don't create attraction, you create comfort. And comfort, while nice, doesn't create craving. Craving comes from a combination of attraction and slight uncertainty. Craving comes from knowing someone is amazing but not being completely sure you can have them whenever you want them. Craving comes from feeling like you found someone rare and valuable, but understanding that you need to earn and maintain their interest rather than just expecting it. The men who understand this, the 3% who get it, they don't chase women, they attract them. They don't beg for attention, they create situations where women want to give them attention. They don't try to convince women of their worth, they live in such a way that their worth becomes obvious to anyone paying attention. These men understand that the goal isn't to get a woman to like them, it's to become the kind of man that high-quality women naturally gravitate toward. They focus on becoming rather than getting, on building rather than taking, on creating value rather than extracting it. And because they operate from this mindset, women don't just like them or appreciate them or feel comfortable with them, women crave them. Women think about them when they're not around. Women wonder what they're doing, who they're with, when they'll see them again. Women feel a physical and emotional pull toward them that's almost impossible to resist. If you recognize yourself in the old patterns, if you've been the man who gives everything away too quickly, who's always available, who tries to prove his worth through performance and sacrifice, don't feel bad about it. Most men operate this way because it's what we've been taught. But now you know better. Now you understand that creating genuine attraction and craving in women requires a completely different approach. It requires you to become a man of depth, a man who controls his attention strategically, a man who's unpredictably consistent, a man who has mastered himself, and a man who lives with purpose beyond any one relationship. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative or treating women poorly. This is about becoming genuinely attractive by developing the qualities that create natural, healthy attraction. This is about understanding female psychology well enough to show up in a way that makes women feel excited to be around you rather than taking you for granted. This is about becoming the kind of man that women compete for rather than the kind of man who competes for women. Remember, you have tremendous value to offer, but value that's given away freely isn't valued. Worth that's proven through desperation isn't believed. Attention that's always available isn't treasured. Love that comes without standards isn't respected. But when you become a man who understands his own worth, who protects his energy, who gives strategically and loves intentionally, who has depth and purpose and self-mastery, you don't just attract women, you create the kind of deep, intense craving that leads to the kind of relationships most men only dream about. The choice is yours, brother. You can continue operating the way 97% of men operate, hoping that somehow, someday, being nice and available and accommodating will create the attraction you're looking for. Or you can join the 3% of men who understand what truly creates craving in women and start implementing these principles in your life today. The difference isn't just in the results you'll get with women, it's in how you'll feel about yourself as a man. Because when you live these principles, when you become this kind of man, you don't just attract others, you attract the life you've always wanted. And that, my friend, is when everything changes.